Have you ever heard a sentence that just broke something inside you? A sentence that reveals a hidden ledger where love is weighed against convenience? She's too much work for us now. 6 words that can quietly end a life as someone knew it. We hear it about the elderly, the sick, the different. And it's often said with a sigh, a shake of the head, as if it's the most natural, tragic conclusion in the world. But what if that's a lie? What if too much work is just a confession that our own hearts have grown too tired, too small? This isn't just another sad tale. This is a true story that will challenge everything you think you know about family, duty, and who really has the right to call someone theirs. Get ready for a counterintuitive truth that will hit you hard. Sometimes, the person with the least to give, an immigrant cleaner with her own family an ocean away, holds the blueprint for love that a wealthy, educated family has completely lost. This is a human drama that unfolds in a pristine suburban home, where the quietest person in the room makes the loudest stand. The quick reward for you today is a masterclass in real courage. You'll learn how a simple offer, made from a place of pure empathy, didn't just save an elderly woman from a lonely fate. It legally and permanently rewired an entire family tree. You'll see the exact moment a housekeeper stopped being staff and became the most important person in the house. If you've ever felt taken for granted, or if you've ever struggled with the weight of caring for someone, this emotional story is your mirror and your map. It's about the family you're born into, and the family you choose to build with your 2 bare hands. The ending will not just surprise you, it will change what you believe is possible. Now, let me tell you something you probably already feel in your bones. Love, the real, messy, sacrificial kind, doesn't always come from the people who share your last name or speak your mother tongue. Sometimes, it walks into a room wearing a pair of old sneakers and a weary smile, carrying a mop and a bucket. In the grand, often unfair human drama of life, the most profound connections are forged in silence, in shared looks over a shared sink. Think about it. Who really sees the people who become invisible by profession? The domestic workers, the caregivers, the ones who hold up the world so others can sleep easy? Their lives are a masterclass in real-life storytelling, written in the quiet hours, chapter by humble chapter. So picture this. Ana, a woman from Guatemala, barely 5 feet tall, but with the resilience of a mountain. She's worked for the Carter family for 3 years, cleaning their spacious suburban home. The Carters are nice enough, pay on time, but they're busy, always rushing to meetings, to games, to their important lives. Anna's world is one of vacuum lines and the lemony scent of polish. That is, until Mrs. Carter's mother, Eleanor, an elegant woman now faded by early-stage dementia, comes to live with them. Suddenly, the quiet house has a new, confused heartbeat, and the family's polite distance turns into something heavier. You can hear it in the sighs, in the hushed conversations that stop when Anna enters the room. Here's a practical life lesson you can start applying today, right where you are. Pay attention to the Eleanors around you. Not just the elderly, but anyone who's being slowly sidelined, labeled as too much. Your coworker who's struggling to keep up with new tech. Your neighbor who's been alone since his wife passed. The first step isn't a grand gesture. It's a simple, consistent acknowledgement. Good morning. How did you sleep? With eye contact. A cup of tea made just for them. For Anna, it started with noticing Eleanor's love for a specific yellow teacup. She'd always make sure it was clean and waiting. That tiny act was a lifeline in a sea of confusion. One Tuesday afternoon, Anna was polishing the dining table when she overheard the conversation that would change everything. Mr. Carter, voice strained, was on the phone in the next room. I know, but she's too much work for us now. We're not equipped for this. We found a place, a good facility. We'll move her next week. Anna's hands froze on the wood. She looked up and met Eleanor's gaze from the living room armchair. The old woman's eyes, cloudy most days, were clear and filled with a quiet, devastating understanding. In that moment, a silent pact was made between 2 women from different worlds, bound by a common fear of being discarded. Anna's heart, a heart that had crossed borders for a better life, made a decision that had nothing to do with her job description. Anna didn't sleep that night. The phrase, too much work, echoed in her mind, not as an insult to Eleanor, but as a tragic confession of a family's love wearing thin. She'd seen this before, back home, where communities held each other up because they had to. Here, with all this space and stuff, there was a strange emptiness. The next day, during her break, she sat with Eleanor on the back porch. She didn't use fancy words. Her English was simple, mixed with the warm cadence of Spanish. "Senora Eleanor," she said, holding her wrinkled hand. "You are not too much. You are here. You are good." And she started to hum an old lullaby, one she sang to her own children thousands of miles away. Eleanor's fingers tightened around hers, and a single tear traced a path down her powdered cheek. This was the beginning of an inspirational bond that defied every contract. Let's talk about practical courage for a second. What Anna did next wasn't legal advice, it was human advice. She went to Mrs. Carter, her hands nervously tucked into her apron. "Hi, I hear you talk about facility," she began, her voice soft but steady. "I know it's hard, but maybe I help more? I come extra days. No extra pay. I keep her company. I make her meals." The offer hung in the air, shocking in its simplicity and sacrifice. It was the working class offering its greatest asset, time and care, when the wealthy were offering a check to an institution. Mrs. Carter was touched, but dismissive. "Oh, Anna, that's too kind, but we couldn't ask that of you. This is a family matter." And right there is the great divide. The belief that blood is the only currency that can buy care. But Anna, see, she operated on a different economy, the economy of the heart. She started doing it anyway. On her official days, she'd spend her lunch break with Eleanor, looking at photo albums, naming the faces Eleanor could no longer recall. She'd bring simple Guatemalan dishes, black beans, soft tortillas, food that somehow sparked more memories than the fancy pureed meals. She created a ritual, the yellow teacup, the afternoon hum, the gentle hand massage. This was more than care. It was a rebuilding of a person's world, brick by gentle brick. The house was quieter, emptier, as the Carters began the logistical and emotional process of letting go. But in Eleanor's sunlit corner, a tiny universe of dignity was being fiercely protected. Then, the turning point. A week before the planned move, Anna found Eleanor at the front door, coat on, holding a small suitcase, utterly lost and trying to go home. The family was out. Anna didn't redirect her to a chair. She simply said, "Okay, senora. Vamos. I take you." She drove Eleanor, not to any address from the past, but to the public library, to the park where they fed ducks, to a small chapel to light a candle. For those few hours, she gave Eleanor not confinement, but freedom. When they returned, the Carters were in a panic. And in that moment of relief and reproach, Mr. Carter saw something in his mother-in-law's face he hadn't seen in months. A faint, peaceful smile. He looked from his mother's contented face to Anna's determined, worried one. A silent question began to form in his mind, a question that challenged everything he thought he knew about family and obligation. The Carters sat Anna down in their pristine living room, a space she usually only cleaned. It was uncomfortable, the air thick with unspoken class dynamics and gratitude guilt. "Anna, we are incredibly grateful," Mr. Carter started, lawyerly and measured. "But what you're doing, it's beyond your duties. We can't have you taking such personal risks. And we've signed the papers for Sunny Acres. It's final. This, my friend, is where most real-life stories end. With a thank you, a bonus maybe, and a sad, inevitable parting. The system, neat, legal, and cold, wins. But Anna, she had the quiet power of someone who's already lost everything once and found strength in the ashes. She looked at them not as bosses, but as fellow humans drowning in a decision they thought was their only option. She did something brilliantly simple. She didn't argue. She told a story. "In my village," she said, her English gaining a sudden, poignant clarity, "we have no facilities. We have family, even if not by blood. My tia Rosario, she was not my real aunt, but she held me when my mother was sick. She fed me. This is how we live." She paused, letting the life lesson sink in. "Senora Eleanor, she is now my tia also. I do not see work. I see her." The Carters were speechless. They were being schooled in humanity by their cleaning lady. This is the counterintuitive heart of so many immigrant stories. They come here for opportunity and end up reminding us of the fundamental opportunities we've forgotten. To connect, to care, to be a village. Now, here's where you can learn a tactic for your own life. especially if you ever need to advocate for someone. Anna presented an alternative not as a challenge, but as a partnership. I have idea, she said. What if I live here? In guest room. I be here day and night for her. You pay me a little more, but much, much less than Sunny Acres. You can visit every day. She stays in her home. She laid out a crude budget on a napkin, her increased salary versus the staggering monthly cost of the private facility. The math was undeniable, but this wasn't about math. It was about trust. Could they trust this woman, this domestic worker from another world, with their most vulnerable secret? The risk was terrifying, but the alternative, the guilt of institutionalizing a mother who now smiled at a stranger's lullabies, felt worse. The family retreated to discuss. Anna waited in the kitchen, her fate and Eleanor's hanging in the balance. She heard fragments of the debate. What will people think? Is it legal? Can we really trust her? And then, the youngest Carter daughter, a teenager who'd been mostly silent, said something that cut through it all. Grandma only smiles when Anne is here. Doesn't that tell us everything? Sometimes, the deepest wisdom in a human drama comes from the mouths of those not yet jaded by the world's complicated ledgers. That simple observation tipped the scales. Mr. Carter walked back in. His demeanor changed. We'd like to try your plan, Anna. On a trial basis. Relief flooded her, but it was quickly followed by the daunting weight of what she'd just agreed to. She had just moved her world into theirs, blurring every line. The transition was, well, awkward. Anna moved her single suitcase into the pastel-colored guest room. Her uniform apron now hung next to her few everyday clothes. She was no longer just the help who left at 3 p.m. She was a constant, living presence. The family tiptoed around this new reality. But for Eleanor, it was a seamless dawn of peace. Anna's routine became the house's new heartbeat. Gentle wakes, shared breakfasts, slow walks in the garden where Eleanor would name flowers she suddenly remembered. Anna's storytelling, tales of Guatemalan volcanoes and marketplaces, became Eleanor's anchor to a world beyond her fading memories. The facility brochures were tossed. This was an experiment in radical, unconventional love. But let's be real, this wasn't a fairy tale. It was hard, grueling work. There were sleepless nights, difficult episodes of confusion, the sheer physical toll of caregiving. Anna's own family back home, whom she supported with every check, missed her terribly on their weekly calls. She was now a full-time caregiver, a role that offered little glory and immense sacrifice. This is the untold part of true stories like these. The bone-deep fatigue, the loneliness within someone else's home, the quiet worry about your own future. Yet, in Eleanor's growing moments of clarity and affection, Anna found a reward that wasn't on any paycheck. She found purpose. She was no longer just cleaning a house. She was safeguarding a human soul. Anna's presence began to change the Carter family dynamics, too. The teenage daughter started spending more time in the living room, drawn by the calm atmosphere Anna and Eleanor created. She'd even help sometimes, learning patience. Mrs. Carter, freed from the crushing anxiety of being a primary caregiver, began to visit her mother as a daughter again, bringing gossip, doing her nails, sharing laughs, instead of as a stressed-out nurse. Anna had, in effect, healed a fracture in the family by absorbing the pressure point. She became the silent, sturdy pillar holding up the roof, allowing the family to live comfortably underneath it again. They started seeing her not as a servant, but as a partner, a rare and precious figure in their lives. Then, the legal reality knocked. After 6 months, a social worker came for a routine check on the home care situation. The questions were pointed. Was Anna a licensed caregiver? Were there proper contracts? Insurance? The Carter's improvisation was laid bare. The social worker was kind but firm. This informal arrangement was a legal gray area. To continue, it needed to be formalized. Anna needed to be legally hired as a live-in caregiver, with a proper visa sponsorship if needed, workers' comp, everything. It was the right thing to do, but it was a mountain of paperwork and expense. The easy path, the path they were on before Anna intervened, was to just revert to the facility. The family looked at each other, then at Anna holding Eleanor's hand protectively. They had a choice: honor the spirit of their agreement and fight the system, or take the clean, legal exit. What happened next is what separates a nice anecdote from a life-changing inspirational tale. The Carters didn't take the exit. Mr. Carter, the lawyer, decided to use his skills for something beyond corporate mergers. "We'll formalize it," he told Anna. "We'll sponsor you properly. You're family now." That word, family, echoed in the room with a new weight. It wasn't just sentiment. It was a legal and moral commitment. They hired an immigration attorney to secure a proper visa for Anna as a domestic caregiver, a costly and lengthy process. They drew up a contract that gave her rights, benefits, and respect. In doing so, they weren't just keeping a caregiver. They were acknowledging her humanity and her irreplaceable role in their lives. For Anna, this was more than job security. It was validation. It was the American dream, but not the one of flashy cars. It was the dream of stability, of belonging, of being seen as more than a shadow in the background. Her own children back home would now have a mother with a secure legal status, a future. This twist in the story is a powerful life lesson. When you do the right thing for another person, especially someone with less power than you, the universe often orchestrates a reward that lifts you both. The Carters gained peace of mind and the preservation of their mother's dignity. Anna gained a future. Eleanor gained a loving home. It was a triple victory. The years passed. Eleanor's condition slowly progressed, but she declined in a sunlit room filled with love, music, and the smell of tortillas toasting, not in the sterile hallway of an institution. On her last day, she was surrounded not just by her blood family, but by Anna, who held her hand and hummed the lullaby until the very end. In her will, Eleanor, in a moment of stunning clarity documented by her son-in-law, had left Anna a small but meaningful sum of money, not as back pay, but as a legacy. A note attached read, "For my other daughter, who taught me that home is not a place, but a person." After Eleanor passed, the dynamic shifted again. The Carters didn't want Anna to leave. The guest room had become her room. The teenage daughter was now in college, calling Anna for advice. So, they offered her a new role, house manager. She ran the household, a job of trust and authority. The immigrant caregiver had become the family's cornerstone. But something in Anna had changed, too. She had discovered a power within herself, a power to heal, to unite, to transform a house into a home. And with Eleanor's gift and her own savings, she dreamed of something bigger, a small, home-style adult care service, run with the same principle of familia, whether by blood or by choice. So, what's the grand takeaway from this emotional story? It's that the most powerful forces in this world aren't money, status, or even biology. They're attention, consistency, and the courage to cross invisible lines. Anna didn't have resources. She had resolve. She saw a person where others saw a problem. And in doing so, she didn't just change Eleanor's fate. She rerouted the destiny of an entire family and wrote her own new future. This is the true story of how one working-class woman redefined what family means, proving that kinship is a verb, an action you choose to perform every single day. Now, let's bring this home to you. You don't need to adopt an elderly person to live this lesson. Start with the Annas and Eleanors in your own orbit. Is there an isolated neighbor you could check on once a week? A colleague from another country who might be lonely on holidays? Your own relative you've labeled difficult? The practical step is proximity. Move closer, not farther away. Offer a car ride. Share a meal. Listen to a story you've heard 100 times. These are the threads that weave a safety net of real-life connection, stronger than any legal contract. Think about your own legacy. What will it be? A pile of receipts, or a collection of quiet moments where you ease someone's burden? Anna's legacy is a model of care that the Carters now champion, and a future business that will extend her circle of compassion. Yours can start today. Write down one person you can reach out to this week with no agenda other than to see them. Then do it. That single act is the seed of an inspirational story that you might never even know the full impact of. This storytelling isn't just about making you feel good. It's a call to arms for your own humanity. The world is full of people being quietly labeled too much work, too much emotion, too much need, too much trouble. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to be the one who says, "I have time." Tell me, in that simple offer lies a revolutionary power. The power to make the invisible visible. The power to turn a housekeeper into a hero, a patient into a person, and a stranger into family. The story of Anna and Eleanor ends here. but the story of what you do with this lesson, that one is just waiting for its first chapter. So, let's land this plane. What's the raw, unfiltered life lesson? That the world divides us with labels: family, staff, immigrant, patient. But our hearts have the power to erase those lines. Anna didn't see a dementia patient. She saw a person. And in choosing to see her, she didn't just get a new job. She gained a family and a future. That's poetic justice written in the language of everyday sacrifice. Now, let's get uncomfortably practical. I'm talking to you. Who in your life is currently being treated as too much work? Is it an aging parent, a challenging friend, or even a part of yourself you've neglected? When was the last time you performed an act of care that was off the books? No payment, no social media post, just pure, inconvenient giving? What invisible person in your daily routine, the cleaner, the security guard, the quiet coworker, have you never truly seen? Don't just be a consumer of inspirational content. Be a creator of inspirational reality. Your story is the next one in the making. If this storytelling hit home, if you saw a flicker of Anna's courage or Eleanor's fear in your own life, then you understand our mission here at The Invisible Hands. We are a channel for the unseen by the unseen. Police Garlight want to turn this feeling into action? I've created a practical guide, The Family You Choose, a blueprint for compassionate care and connection. It's a PDF with real steps. How to navigate difficult care conversations, how to build your own support village, and how to find legal resources for unconventional family structures. It's for people ready to build stronger, more human bonds. The link is in the description below. But before you go, do this for our community. Smash the like button if this story reminded you that love is a verb. Comment below, family is a choice, or tell us about an Anna in your own life. Subscribe and hit the bell. Why? Because next week, we're telling the story of a construction worker who found a secret room in a mansion he was renovating, and what was inside will shock you to your core. You won't want to miss it. Remember, your attention is the first step toward changing a story. Use it wisely. See you in the next one.